Being prepared for unexpected emergencies is more important now than ever. You've seen all the crazy weather going on. You've seen all the world issues going on. It's just a really good idea to have a pantry, but a 3-day supply is a great place to start. Whether you're brand new to pantry preparedness or you're a seasoned prepper, hopefully we'll have some tips and tricks here to help you build a really great 3-day supply of emergency essentials. Hello everybody and welcome to SuttonsDaze. If you're new here, my name is Lisa. We are all about pantry preparedness because it is the best insurance that money can buy. Now, with everything that's going on in the world, it is definitely a good idea to make sure that you are prepared. If things typically don't happen in your area, it doesn't mean that they won't happen. You remember Snowmageddon back in Texas, right? A few years back. We just had Ice-mageddon, they're calling it, the major ice storm in northeastern Michigan. Some people, there was still 60,000 people without power a week later. And so the easiest way to tackle this, if you're brand new, is to start looking at a 3-day supply. So we're going to walk you through the things that you should look at, take into consideration, or, find substitutions that fit your lifestyle better than what I'm suggesting. But these will hopefully kind of walk you through the process. Let's get started. One thing to remember when you are creating a 3-day emergency supply, right, is it needs to be easy to open. It needs to be shelf stable. Those are really, really important. Added huge benefits are variety and nutrition. You don't want Snickers bars to get you through a 3-day emergency. Well, you might, but it's not a good idea, if you know what I mean. So we're going to start off with, first and foremost, always and forever, water. Water is very, very important. The status quo for a very long time, as long as I have been in the prepping community, has been a gallon per person per day. I know about the animals, factor in your animals, okay? But I'm talking about people right now. So factor a gallon of water per person per day. That, though, that's your minimum. My minimum is no less than 2 gallons a day because not only is there consumption, because we should be drinking a large quantity of water, but in addition to that, there's cooking and there's hygiene and, all the things that you use water for. You will never truly understand how much you go through until you have to ration it. It's really, really difficult. So at least 2 gallons of water per person per day. Do the math. It can be in gallon jugs. It can be in water bottles. It can be however you can store it. A really great backup to a backup is to have a way to filter water, like your Berkey system or your PureWell, I think it's called, that kind of thing, or water purification tablets. Those are additional ways to back up your resources. So say something happens and you don't have access to potable water, but you've got a gallon of water per person per day in your household, but that's for consumption. So now you have to figure out how to provide the water for all the other things that you use. That's where your water filtration systems or your tablets will help you bridge that gap. So it's not just one thing, sometimes it's layered. Number 2 is some ready-to-eat protein. Ready-to-eat protein. Protein is so good, it makes you full, okay? If nothing else, it makes you full. So you want to look at your canned chicken, your canned beef, your canned pork. If you're one of my home canners, then okay, this stuff is fantastic. And it can be turned into a multitude of things, from soups and stews to casseroles to, a cold sandwich, however you want. You can grab a fork and eat it out of the jar. It does not matter. But if you are not a home canner, then you can purchase these also from the grocery store. It's a little bit more when you factor it in, but it's still good to have, and it lasts years, absolute years. So you don't have to consume it within the next 365. You can have it as part of your emergency preps, but you want to keep an eye on the dates. Next thing is like jerky or dried meats, but those don't last as long. The jerky is something that, while it is protein, it is not shelf stable. It is not reliably shelf stable. And so you keep it in the freezer. That's fine. So the power goes out, you know you've got enough jerky in there for 3 days. Should that be your main source of protein? Not if you really enjoy your teeth, you know. But summer sausages, same thing. You keep them in the fridge. I think they're kind of shelf stable, aren't they? I don't eat a lot of them. So, you know, take a look at those and see if that's something that you can stack up on. But those will require regular rotation through every single year. So you want to go through, you know, twice a year and eat them and replace them. Not a big deal. And of course, for the folks that are not carnivore, the plant-based options, they have shelf-stable tofu out there. There's always beans, because beans are amazing, right? And your nut butters, it's all out there. You can make it happen. Number 3 is shelf-stable carbohydrates. You see my, you know, it's shelf-stable. That's big. So crackers. Okay. That's not something that is long term, but it is good. Now, I had somebody jump down my throat about some particular kind of DIY cracker that will last decades. Whatever. I mean, I want stuff that I eat today. If you eat that today, rock on. If you eat saltines like we do, then they don't last. Okay, so, but you want to make sure that you have some, because they make it easier to consume other things. They are the vessel to get it to your face, you know, peanut butter or chicken salad or whatever the case may be. They also have the salt. In addition to that, it is the carbs that give you the energy. And when you're dealing in an emergency situation, energy is needed. Next, look at your instant rice or your pasta, okay? Because those are super simple. They do require water to refresh, but, you know, it can be used for other things too. So definitely, I think in the case of between the two of them, I would pick rice over pasta. And that's just because it requires less water. But both of them are great to have on hand, and both of them stored properly, cool, dark, dry, airtight, last infinitely. Next are some shelf-stable breads. Now, these are going to have to be rotated out on a more frequent basis, right? But your tortillas or your flatbread, if you notice when I'm in the kitchen, you typically see a stack of tortillas, right? Because I eat those a lot. I don't eat real bread very much anymore. So I always have the tortillas around. In an emergency, again, those are the vessel to get the food to your face, whether it is creating burritos out of your beans and your rice, or your meat and your rice, or your meat and your beans, and whatever. You know, it's a way to get the food into you. In addition to that, depending on the kind that you get, it's also a nice healthy dose of carbs. We do need carbs, we just don't need 400 grams of them a day. As always, think about everybody in the household, right? So your cereals or your granolas, and I mean everything from oatmeal to shredded wheat to, you know, whatever, Cheerios, whatever. Definitely those are good to have on hand, but the oatmeal lasts a really long time. Breakfast cereal per se does not. So you want to keep an eye on how you're rotating those also, and take that into consideration. A notepad and a pen are a great thing, and then you just go through every month and you check to see what you have to rotate out. It's the easiest way to handle it. Number 4 is fats and oils, because our bodies do require them. They are also there for flavor and for texture and, you know, numerous other things. Peanut butter is a great fat and oil. It gives you both of those, okay? So any of your nut butters, shelf-stable cooking oils like olive oil or coconut oil, you know, vegetable oil, if that's what you use, that's great. Go ahead and, you know, make sure that you have those. Do not purchase copious amounts just to sit on the shelf, because they typically won't last much more than a year, depending on the conditions, because they tend to go rancid. That is just the natural way that good oils work. If they don't go rancid, then, you know, it's like eating a Twinkie. It's manufactured. It's a chemical thing like margarine. So don't, you know, try to stick with the real stuff, but you will have to use it. You will have to rotate it out. It's not a set it and forget it process. The next suggestion I would say is canned condensed milk, sweetened milk, coconut milk, right? Because they're canned. They have a fairly decent shelf life, but eventually you will need to consume them and rotate them out. They're great for calories. They're great for flavor. You mix some cooked rice with some sweetened condensed milk, and it's dessert. Don't forget your fruits and vegetables. Okay, Mom. Okay, but Canned fruits and vegetables are phenomenal, okay? They already come in the liquid. They're already cooked. Poof. If you're looking at vegetables, try to look for the ones that are in the natural juices, not the syrups per se, because they're somewhat healthier. But get your favorites, okay? If they're in a can, you know they're good for at least a year, if not longer. And the Pop Top, I have never had a Pop Top give way. I wouldn't spend a lot of time worrying about that because I'm not talking about getting 30 years out of these. I'm talking about getting a year or so. So fruits and vegetables, and you just have to figure out what your family eats. A nice backup to that is dried fruits like raisins, cranberries, apricots, figs, prunes, you know, all of that fun stuff. Make sure that they're in an airtight container. Do not vacuum seal them. They run about 17% moisture, and you really need to be at 10% or below for vacuum sealing or oxygen absorbers. Otherwise, it just creates potential issues, okay? I'm not saying every single time, and if you've done it before and lived, that's great, but why spin the wheel, you know? So dried fruits and vegetables, dried fruits, because they're handy, they're easy, grab a handful, there's no preparation, you're done. You can mix them up with your oatmeal, you know, if you have oatmeal. There's multiple uses for them, so they're a good thing to have on hand. Number 6 is dairy or /dairy alternatives. So you can buy waxed cheese. There are people out there who can show you how to wax your own cheese, but use caution when you follow those. So shelf-stable milk, okay, they have lots of different options for shelf-stable milk, both vegetarian and not. Canned, evaporated, or condensed milk, like we touched on the other one. It's milk, okay? And then the cheese, shelf-stable cheese spreads, you know, something like Velveeta, you know. I know it's not cheese, don't come at me. But it's a cheese-like substance, and you can make something with it. It's there for emergencies. If you don't typically eat it and don't want to, don't stock it. It's that easy. I do keep a powdered cheese because I like it on my popcorn. But, you know, I keep that, so if I have to in a pinch, I can make that work also. There are options out there depending on your diet, your budget, your time, your space, everything else. You can figure out what works best for you and yours. If you want to keep boxed macaroni and cheese on your shelves, that's great. You just have to factor in the water to cook the noodles, okay? Because a lot of those have powdered cheese in it, right? I mean, I remember that blue box. So it works. You can make it work. Next, we want to look at some high-energy snacks. So when we're talking about that, we're talking about trail mix. And we're not talking about the ones that have all of the chocolate in them, but we could be, okay? But it has fruits, it has nuts, it has seeds. And if the case, you know, calls for it, then it also has chocolate in it. Because of the nuts and seeds, they do have a limited shelf life. So you want to keep an eye on that. I personally would probably stick with the seeds over the nuts because they don't go bad as quick. Or you could just keep the nuts separate in your freezer, and when the emergency happens, you can grab them and add them to the rest of the mixture. Or just keep the ingredients around like I have. I have the dried fruit, and I have the, you know, something sweet, and I have the nuts that are in the freezer. And when the time comes, I just mix them together. Not everything has to be 100% prepared all the time, but it can be pretty close. You can also look at granola. Make your own granola. I shared one video. I'm not going to be sharing another one for a little while because Phil can't eat it yet, but that was a really good granola, and really easy to make with basic ingredients that you have, right? Or protein bars. If you are a fan of protein bars, I'm a fan of some of them, then, you know, they're a great thing to have around for an emergency. Take them, throw them in your, you know, your bag for the 3 days and count it good. It's typically around, if they're quality, they're typically around 200 calories a bar and about, you know, 20 to 25 grams of carbs. And a lot of them have 15 plus grams of protein. So you're kind of hitting all the spots there. It's a great thing. Another great thing, okay, dark chocolate or milk chocolate. All you have to do is vacuum seal it, make sure it doesn't get hot, and it'll last years and years and years and years. I am on like year six or seven testing out Hershey Kisses. And every time we open them, they're phenomenal. Now you want to think of, okay, I have no power, I have no this, I have no that. What's going on? Easy meals. You guys know I'm a huge fan of a fondue pot, okay? Have a fondue pot and a way to heat that puppy, and you can heat just about everything. Now, in that fondue pot, soups, stews, instant mashed potatoes, boxed mac and cheese, easy to prepare things. I'm not a big fan of meals in a jar per se, but, soups can be considered a meal in a jar. Stews can be considered a meal in a jar. Super simple, heat and eat, and you're good to go. Number 9, we're going to talk about hydration, okay? Hydration and electrolytes, because in a stressful situation, you will need the additional electrolytes. I'm a huge fan of Pedialyte in the powder form because I can add it to my water. It's like adding a flavor packet in there. So that's a good thing to keep on hand. Gatorade also has a dry one. And there are pros and cons. I know, okay? But I'm just tossing out suggestions there. Instant coffee or tea, all you got to do is heat the water. Now, with the caffeine, it is a diuretic, but it's something. So, that's always good. And because a caffeine withdrawal headache is not fun at all. Not fun at all, okay? And then shelf-stable juice boxes. When you're stressed, things are a little wonky, unpredictable, you don't know what's going on, you have no control, right? You're going to really want some comfort food. It will make you and yours feel so much better. So that is a way to factor something in. For some people, macaroni and cheese is comfort food. You have to figure out what your comfort food is. But look at cups of noodles or instant ramen, popcorn. Popcorn's a comfort food for me. You can pop it, if you have flame and a pot, or you can buy shelf-stable, already popped popcorn. I'm not certain how long those are good, so I would test them over time. Another thing that just makes you feel good, right, is hard candy or honey sticks. Honey sticks are so good. They're so good, and you can use them to stir your coffee and your tea. But hard candy, sometimes just having that piece of hard candy takes you back. Reminds you of hanging out with grandma. Now, with all of this, you want to remember emergency cooking utensils. That should be part of your 3-day pantry, okay? So take that into consideration. You want to look at a manual can opener because, it really sucks trying to get into a can without one. Disposable utensils, paper plates, that kind of thing, napkins, because doing the dishes uses a lot of water. So having those disposable options is a great thing to do. Sterno, a portable gas stove or alternative heating method like fondue pot, that is all different ways that you can manage the food and cook the food and eat the food and have them available at all times. I always have paper plates on hand. I am working off of the same box of forks on one box and knives on the other for like the last 5 years, okay? Because we just don't use them. They're literally going to last me another 5 years. It's just not something I use a lot. So I can always drink the broth and use a fork to get the rest of the stuff out. I'm good. But figure out what works for you and what will make you and yours able to consume. Last but not least, you want to remember anybody in the household or anybody that you anticipate becoming part of the household, okay? Special dietary needs and medications. Now, prescription medications, sometimes you can, sometimes you can't. I get it. There are multiple discussions on multiple different, venues about how to prepare for that. It's not easy. It's not comfortable. It's probably not recommended by your doctor, okay? But there are ways that you can do it. Other ones are over-the-counter medications that you think you're going to use. And I would swap those out seasonally, definitely, because I rarely get a cold in the summertime, but you can guarantee this time of year, I'm going to need a bottle of NyQuil. It's just one of those things. So you want to pay attention to what you use and then rotate it out, when you change your smoke alarms and that kind of stuff. Look for gluten-free or allergy-free emergency foods, meal replacements. Highly recommend these, okay? I always recommend to have these on hand. Ensure protein shakes, baby formula if needed. And then try to build a 3-day buffer on your prescription medications. I know it's hard and not always possible, okay? But at least remember where they are so that you can grab them on the run. This 3-day emergency plan, if you implement it, if you put it into action, okay, will ensure that you and yours are covered for 3 days. It will also give you an idea of what you need to do to multiply that to get to 3 weeks. I hope that this was helpful. If you want to check out some other videos on how to stock your pantry, because it's more important today than it's ever been, check out this playlist right here. Until next time, everybody, be safe. Stack it to the rafters, my friends.